Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is another member of the PAC, head coach of the St. Vincent Bearcats, Aaron Smetanka. Coach Smetanka and I had a conversation about his playing days and how he ended up at St. Vincent. Immediately following his playing days with doing the Arena League, tryout with the Steelers. And then we talk about where he expects the team to be this year, coming off the 5-3 season last year in 2022. So far this year, they're 2-3. They go into Waynesburg, coming off the 19-0 loss to Case Western. We're also going to talk about, I'm sure in the overtime segment, we're going to talk about the top 25, as between 7 and 14, there was a bit of a shakeup. Some people moved down because big game happened in the WEAC conference. We're also going to talk about Serenity's rough week. She had made it back into second place. I don't think she's there anymore. We have to talk about my math skills because they seem to be dwindling as we do these picks. Basic math is a struggle for me. All that, plus, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Spotify or watching us on Spotify, really appreciate you. Tell a friend to tell a friend. If you don't like us, tell a friend anyways. Maybe they'll like it and you don't. Follow us on the socials. That's X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The only one that's different is the Instagram page. That's dingo_talk. But without further ado, before we go any further, just want to remind everybody these interviews were done before the season started. So these coaches are talking about going into the 2023 season, which is why I'm giving you the background of what's going on so far. But without further ado, this is Coach Smetanka. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach at St. Vincent College, right?
Yeah, St. Vincent College, yes.
I want to make sure, because sometimes I get that. Coach Smetanka, thank you for joining us.
Thanks again. I really appreciate you having me on tonight.
Absolutely. So we're going to do this the same way we do every week. I'm going to take you back in what I call the time machine. We'll take you back to your senior year and the recruitment process and work our way to today. So how does a guy from Allison Park, North Catholic, find his way 37 minutes across town in Moon Township before you make your way to Latrobe?
So I went through the recruiting process when I was at North Catholic. Was blessed. At that time, I had a few schools, depending on what the levels were that came through during the recruiting process. Kind of narrowed it down to looking at more of the MAC level, and then also the FCS level, which now they all call them Division I. But been looking through all those throughout the route, and throughout the process, a lot of the MAC schools, it was just coming down to more of, if it was going to come up to it, been a preferred walk-on opportunity or walk-ons if that was going to happen. So I decided, okay, I'm going to look at some of the other schools around here. Kind of going throughout the process, so started to narrow down to, honestly, it was like Townsend in Maryland, Duquesne, and Robert Morris. Then I narrowed it down to Duquesne and Robert Morris, went throughout that process, and then eventually ended up going to Robert Morris at that time. Met a lot of coaches there now that I'm actually competing against now. So it's kind of neat to see how things kind of worked out over the years. Those guys coaching me at that time or be on the coaching staff, and then now kind of comes full circle as we got to today's date.
Now, you spend 3 years, right, at Robert Morris. One of those years is a red shirt. And then why the transfer to, and why was St. Vincent and Latrobe where you felt that was a good place to continue the career and school?
So actually, my very first visit was to St. Vincent. Actually, I visited back my junior year, and before I started visiting any of the other schools, any of the MAC schools that I visited that year, I first went there in the summer, actually, before I went to any of the schools for visits. So I checked out the school, really liked it. I thought it was a beautiful area, beautiful campus, everything at that time. Full circle came back through. We got to finishing out my third year down at Robert Morris, and talked to a couple different people at the time. I knew I still had 2 years eligibility because of the 1 year being a red shirt. I had a great experience there for the 3 years. I got some time, but started looking at, okay, I wanted to finish up obviously my degree, but also wanted to make sure I was going to a good academic school that was going to help me get a good degree from that school on top of it, and had a good networking. But also on top of that, I wanted to continue playing career as far as being on the field though as well. So went through the route of the process. Everything though kept on falling back to the St. Vincent. So I visited up there, came back. Bob Colbert was the head coach at the time. Bernie Colbert, his brother, was on staff, and the two of them were really big push in the recruiting process of really getting me into the wanting to be there at the end. I also had some people in the background that were telling me, hey, this would be a really good fit for you. Being around the area, obviously the affiliation with the Steelers being up here, that was obviously another big plus on that end. Became an up player. Actually, the coach from Shadyside Academy at the time was Dave Havern. He played football as a quarterback at Pitt, and he was a guy actually that helped train me in quarterbacking during my high school days, and actually a little bit during the off seasons when I was at Robert Morris. He worked with me, and then the quarterback, if you remember from Shadyside Academy, Adam Frederick.
Yep.
The one that played at Kent State University. So the two of them trained me during that time, and Dave kept on saying, like, hey, I had one of my kids went to St. Vincent, loved it. It was a great education, got through there, really great school. I know the guy up there. I'm good friends with Coach Colbert. Like, I think it would be a good fit if you went there. And then his teammate, this just happens to be one of my relatives, Denny Harris. Denny Ferris ended up coming through, and he said, hey, like, Aaron, definitely really strongly look at this when you're transferring. So everything kind of came through. Again, visited again, loved it the second time back around. It just felt like, hey, this is where I should be at. This is my home. And now it all worked out that way. It should have been that way, honestly, from the 3 years before that prior. Everything happens for a reason, though, at the end of the day. And luckily, everything worked out to be back here at St. Vincent, though.
Well, and it's interesting that so when you were going through your recruitment process the first time through, that's also the kind of the restart of St. Vincent's program, right? About 06, 07, right in there.
Yes, honestly. Yeah, it was just right around that time. So the practice year and the recruiting was 06. 07 was the very first season. That's right when I graduated. Then was that 07. So it would have been coming right in that first year on that end.
Well, and your first year at St. Vincent, I would say there were some bumps. I think you guys go 3-7 that first year, but then there was not much deterred because that second year coming back, you guys, I believe 7-3 and are in a bowl game, and some records were broken by you. I can remember watching those games.
Yeah, we were really fortunate on that end. That first year felt like, oh man, okay, there's a lot of good strides we're taking here from previous. Now making it to 3-7 that first year. Then, hey, we were really pumped about off season, going through that process, getting prepared for the upcoming season. I had a little bit more preparation on my end because I had to go through the rehab cycle with my shoulder. I did my labrum and rotator cuff. So I had to go through that process of rehab in my shoulder, my throwing arm. So, and then getting ready for the upcoming senior season. But yeah, it was great. I mean, really good teammates, really strong bond that we had between each other. I think that was a nice thing. Guys were in it no matter what. If it was offense, defense, special teams. If it was a guy that was starting, if the guy was a role player, or a guy that was just on the bench cheering, supporting each other and playing on scout team, they were all there for one another, which that was that family atmosphere. That's really, really loved it. I mean, honestly, those are two of the most enjoyable years of playing throughout the years from any level of play and any sport of play too.
So, Coach, I gave you a fair warning that there were two questions that were going to come. These are both about your playing days. The first question that was posed to me was, there's a story about you running someone over at Waynesburg. I don't know if you a little bit of sore shoulder. Did you knock yourself out? What's the story behind this one?
So that was actually what led to the shoulder injury. So it was a play action play off of it. And I stepped up in the pocket. They did a good job in coverage. So I stepped up, broke out of the pocket, ran down the sidelines. Had enough on that end. Honestly, at that time, should have just ducked out and got out of bounds and moved on to the next play. Little bullheaded at the time, so I decided, hey, let's pick up some extra yards. Put my shoulder down, and then ended up getting some extra yards, but then ended up finding out later on that I dislocated my shoulder by extending it that way, and then ended up tearing my rotator and labrum at the time. But but we didn't find that out till later. So went back in the game. That was second quarter of the game. We ended up playing the rest of the second quarter, third, fourth, played the whole game. And then the shoulder actually never went back in until around 3:30 in the afternoon Sunday.
Oh,
I was grabbing a water. So I went straight from there to a cousin's wedding. Actually, just so happened to be, it was out in South Hills area.
Yeah.
Out by Wiesburg. So I went there after we got back to my mother and father-in-law's house. They always give you like the gift bags. So I went, there was water, I was coming out just to drink it. And I went to reach in there, my arm actually just completely locked. And I was like, something's definitely off here. I know I wasn't feeling right, but all of a sudden I went to put my arm down. It felt automatic relief. That shoulder slipped back in. So that's why I knew, okay, yes, it definitely was out that whole time, and it finally went back in that Sunday. Yes, we know that we had to go through. We still had 2 games left on our schedule, though.
Now, was that down at Waynesburg? That was down there on that.
No, that was actually at home.
Okay.
That game was at home.
So the other question that was posed, and I think everybody at home will now figure out who the question is, because this question is kind of loaded. Who is your favorite lineman, and why is it Jimmy Montgomery?
Jimmy was a guy, he came in, obviously he was young, he was a freshman at that time, hardworking, light to start. I mean, he put some weight on, really developed throughout his time of the years that he was at St. Vincent. And really helping those guys out on offensive line after I graduated, though, too. Local guy, too, wasn't too far from me, grew up in Plum. Real hardworking guy. The guy that can then continue to keep playing in after he finished up his time at St. Vincent. Now he's been really successful then, too, on the business end, though, too, with his life and his career.
Well, and Jim and I had a running bet for 4 years, I believe it was, whoever won St. Vincent versus Bethany. It was the other person had to buy the other guy drinks or wherever the next time we saw each other. I don't think either one of us ever had to actually pay up on that bet, but we definitely let each other know when one side had won or the other side had won.
Yes.
So, Coach, in 2012, your college career is done. I shouldn't say your playing career is done, because it's not.
Yes.
There's some arena ball, there's some professional tryouts, and you're starting to catch the coaching bug as well, moving yourself down to the South Hills. So how does Peters Township, Erie, and the Pittsburgh Steelers all combine into this 2 years after graduation?
Yes, there was a lot that went on after graduation. Fortunate that I came out. So finished up the season that spring semester, then was finished up classes. Fortunately, though, I got invited for a pro day invitation, so I got to work out for the pro day. And then after that, I had actually a smaller school combine activity that I was able to be invited to as well. Things didn't pan out then, obviously, throughout that process. The draft ended up being contacted, though, by several places out there, had some opportunities, and then eventually decided, hey, really like some of these arena teams out there. Which route should we go on? Which avenue? Has good rapport? Whose offensive system has really done well out there to help guys move up then to continue to keep playing? And I ended up being contacted by actually Coach Sean Liotta, who happened to be a Whitfield offensive coordinator, broke Whitfield records actually at Clareton, and actually broke state records there offensively at Clareton High School. And then I saw what they were doing in the arena route. Adam Michael, who's actually coaching in Nebraska right now, was a guy that did really, really well there the previous year. And I knew there was good rapport there. Those guys did a lot of good things. And I felt, hey, this is a good system, I think, fitting in and coming directly into that for this year. Really lucked out. I didn't know how training camp was going to go. We had 3 different quarterbacks who were brought in. And, hey, arena, you get 2 quarterbacks they keep. So you either got a guy to start, and then you got a guy that's backing up, and that other guy's kind of out of luck, and he's going to be just kind of on the haywire. He's not going to be on the team anymore. So at that point in time, I knew, hey, I have to do really well in camp. Got to pick the system up quick, whatever way possible. Got to get used to a different style of football.
Which
It's
is
the same
small.
size. Same size. The ball is just they're slick. The ones that they had to win our league had, it was pretty slick on that end. So that's why we're in camp and we're getting the ball out. And I was just like, hey, what can we use to maybe just get it out a little bit faster, just grip wise, especially with a little bit slick. And Coach, I was like, hey, what's your thoughts? Adam Michael used to work here, and he used to use the gloves whenever he was playing. And obviously, you see Kurt Warner. That's where he started arena. Before he said everything he did though, he used gloves whenever he was playing quarterback position. And he continued to carry that out once we got in the NFL. So I said, hey, I'll try it out. I've done one before. Like, I have no problem wearing one, but doing two is going to be a little different. But after the first practice, I'm like, okay, I really like this. Actually, it's really good on the grip. It gets it out fast. And at that point too, it makes it easier if you're not even grabbing laces. Some of the quick routes in arena, you don't have that time to do it. You don't have time to get a good grip and you find the laces. It's a lot of times you won't be using it in the quick game. So that helped out. Kind of went that route. Played there for the 2 years. We had tons of good experiences from different areas. We went to different visits, different weight trips. Got to meet a lot of great, talented football players that I got to play with for those 2 years up in Erie. Built some good relationships, still in contact with even to this day. But that being said, though, going forward, the big thing then is we took away, ended up coming that first year, a really good team, a lot of talent. We ended up coming through that season undefeated, honestly. And the guys right around had a lot of good pieces on offense and really good defense on the defensive side of the ball. And then year two was like, okay, everybody in the league now is out for you, trying to take your head off. When you're coming back out there, they know that you were the top team from the previous year. So it was a grind, honestly. Went from the beginning of the season, got cut up a little bit, had stitches in the mouth. I had to wear a visor for the game. I never had to wear a visor ever before in the game. So that was a little different. Got a little bit beat up and had some knee issues going into a few weeks into the season too. So I had a few things just kind of multiplying as we were starting. Then we started getting the mid-season, and all of a sudden I strained the hamstring. So it was one thing combating after the next with multiple injuries at that time. But it was like, hey, how do you find a way to come back out? How do you find a way to make sure you had really good people around you that helps you in treatment throughout the course of the week, getting you prepared for those weeks that you went on throughout that season? Guys around really played their part, did a really good job as far as the coaching staff, the support staff, and then also guys on the field. Really good offensive line. I mean, a center was 6'8", 360 pounds. Biggest center I've ever had in my life.
I'd say so.
Probably one of the bigger centers you're going to see out there, even just in general, even on TV, honestly.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
So it's pretty special to have somebody like that in front of you that helped out. And two good tackles. Obviously, if you call them tackles or guards, they're basically guards because it's three guys playing the front on that end. With George, Rich being a guy from Charlotte on that end. Then I had Brandon Pate was another guy that was working on the right side. So it's good to have guys that were PA guys, but those two guys that were tough nosed that really helped us out and gave me time in the passing game, and also gave our backs and receivers in the running in the pass game though too. And then really finished out strong then as we hit that playoff stretch, and then the guys really put together coming out, finishing back-to-back years with two championships. And then you talked about after that, then fortunately, I had a few teams reach out about different workouts from Canadian League, NFL, and then fortunately it was in January, right after the Steelers season finished up in the playoffs. Got a contact from them. Their scouting department reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to bring you up for a private workout here this upcoming Thursday. Hey, what's your schedule look like?" Hey, to me at that time is that whatever it is, let me know. Let me know the time, the day. We're all good to go. I'll be there. So that was a great opportunity to have at that point in time. Hey, things didn't pan out at the end of the day. I decided we'll just hang them up. We'll just focus more on the coaching end. You mentioned before about South Hills, Peters Township. Starting off those 2 years in arena, actually, that's where I started. My first year, I was going back and forth to driving all over the place with my car and SUV. Went to the Peters Township, was coaching there 2012. Coached there with Coach Piccinini, who actually was my head high school coach my junior year at North Catholic. So that was the connection of going out there to Peters Township in the South Hills, being about a 50-minute drive from where I was located at the time, going out there. But had that season. Then coming to the summer, after we finished our arena season, I was contacted by Coach Bob Colbert, the head coach of St. Vincent, who coached me at the time, and fortunately he said, "Hey, we got an opening here for a quarterback coach. I'd love to have you come in and be that guy." So fortunately, that all worked out, and coached for him for the year. And then transition year then happened in the following year with the new staff of Coach Dolciato came in. There was John Carroll for 24 years, offensive coordinator, worked with the quarterbacks, the running backs during that time, the receivers. And he gave me the opportunity to stay on staff with them. Stayed there for a few years, almost going to 3. And then decided, hey, the opportunity was at Chartiers Valley, and figured, hey, can get back in the high school game football-wise, and then actually kind of developed and worked out and ended up coaching a year of basketball too. I don't know, a lot of people know that.
Wait, you coached at Shore Valley or you're a basketball?
So not at Chartiers Valley though, actually at Northgate High School.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was on 2 complete different ends of the city. So I was coaching out there at Chartiers Valley for football season, and then right when football season ended, I jumped right into coaching basketball at Northgate High School. One of my friends at the time just got the head coaching job there in Northgate. He was a Hampton, same thing, grew up with him around the area, lived about 4 minutes down the road from me. Called me up, asked me for opportunity. I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. It'd be first time. So I jumped into it, had a good experience there. With about 4 games left in her season. I ended up getting a phone call after going through the interview process over at Greensboro Central Catholic, and ended up getting named the head coach at Greensboro Central Catholic. Loved the school. The administration, the professors, the teachers, anybody from the parents, the players, the coaches I got to coach with during that time. I had an awesome experience for 2 years. I mean, loved it up there. And honestly, this was a place I felt like I was going to stay at for as long as I could. God has a different route, though, has a different plan for life. Ended up being contacted then after that second season ended, right at the end of that fall season, and said, "Hey, why don't you come and send your resume, send your information, send your paperwork in," and looking at applying for the opening now of a head coaching job at St. Vincent. So, okay, I would love to do it.
Well, and I listened to a different interview that you did earlier, I believe right after you had got the job, or maybe a year into it. And there's a story behind the day that you sign or that you get the confirmation that you're going to be the head coach. That's also very important for your family. So would you share that story with us?
Yes, that's actually what I was going to get to. So talk about, I went through the interview process, went through both of those, went throughout the processes on those 2 times, and waiting. So all through the stretch, then my wife gets called. She's not feeling too good. She goes to the hospital, gives me a call, say, "Hey, I think we go to the hospital." They say, "Hey, we're going to have the baby early," looking at like 3 weeks early. So I said, okay. Went there, not knowing what to expect. Hey, how long is this going to happen right now? Is it going to be a day? Is it going to be 2 days? How's it going to work out? Within that 24-hour period, we had Carter, our firstborn, was born. It was awesome, greatest experience ever, honestly. And then he gets it was about 4 or 5 days, going on 5 days, and we're in the NICU. And I literally just interviewed the day before we went to the hospital. So I'm waiting, like, okay, are things going to work out? They're not going to work out, or I don't know. I felt like I did well in the interview, but you never know. So we're in the NICU. Carter's making progress. He's looking better, but they're still really monitoring him a lot, and putting as much fluids into him as possible so he's eating, getting enough nutrients. And then I have a phone call coming through. I'm like, okay, this is the St. Vincent number. I'm pretty positive. I'm going to take a step out, stepped out of NICU, went in, got on a phone call. The athletic director at the time, Father Myron Kirsch, who's just previously retired. Actually, he's been here for about 40 years before I was involved in athletics. He gives me a phone call and says, hey, Aaron, I want to give you a call and offer you the opportunity to be the head football coach here at St. Vincent College. And I was just taken away. I was like, oh, this is a great experience, great opportunity to take in. He said, think about it. Like, hey, talk to your wife about it, think about it. I said, yeah, well, it's a big thing. My wife, we've been talking through it throughout the process. And I'm all on board going forward. So I'm excited. Go in the next room. I see my wife talking to the nurse from the NICU. And I'm like, she has a smile on her face. I'm like, okay, something seems good over here. What's going on? So she looks at me. She's like, something's up with you. And I was like, well, tell me first. Like, so she tells me, hey, things are looking good. And I'm like, okay. So good news on that. And so I didn't know what was going to happen, though. Just, hey, things are looking up right now, but not how up. So I just said, she's like, well, tell me your news because something's going on here. I know it. So I let her know. She was all excited about the opportunity and being a part of now the Bearcat football family now as the coach. And right after that, it was probably 20 minutes later. Nurse comes back and says, hey, you guys are looking great. We're going to have Carter to step down unit. You guys seem to really kind of be on your way then after that. So all this 20-minute span, like everything kind of whirlwind from great news and great rush on both sides. And then that started the process. Slept there that night in a step down unit. Oh, that was, really, really uncomfortable. Didn't get much sleep at all. Tried to get a quick shower in the morning, get everything ready to go. And then out the door, they said, we just want to monitor. So wife stayed there with Carter, monitor. And they were just doing one last check that early afternoon. So she said, okay, go take care of that. Went up there. I wanted to be really respectful to Greensboro Central Catholic. I mean, they were really, really supportive of everything during the time. It was a place that I wanted to let know first, though. Wanted to tell them. So I talked with Father Myron, our athletic director. He said, okay, we'll sign the paperwork. I'm going to give you, he said, I'll give you 30 minutes. I said, okay, 30 minutes, that's fine. I said, as long as you give me 30 minutes, I just want to talk to the team at Greensboro Central Catholic and tell them before anything gets social media nowadays. You see it at every level. The players are finding out on social media before the coach is even talking to them and tells them anything. Or it doesn't go that way. Everybody tells anybody. I don't ever want that to happen. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. So I just said, hey, can you please respect that? At least tell them beforehand. And he said, that's perfectly fine. So whenever I told them, tough at the time, really tough because you're really, really tight with the players there, the families, the parents, the administration, just everybody in general, Greensboro Central Catholic. But they very understanding of the situation, knew exactly how I felt though too about coming back to my alma mater at St. Vincent. Still, all of them are just as supportive even to this day, honestly. So I really, truly thankful for that. Then came back, went up to the hospital, picked up card, officially got released, came back home, and then off and running just kind of nonstop ever since that day.
Well, so, and you kind of go through, so your first season is the 19 season, right? As the head coach?
Yes. 2019 was the first season, yes.
So you have that first season, and I believe, again, that was it a 3-7? I know that Greensboro Central was a 3-7, 7-3 flip around again.
Yes.
Do you do a third stop of the 3-7 and then?
So it was 3-7 that first year that we went into. Then the next year it was a pandemic. So
it's the 2-1, the 2-1 spring in the COVID season.
So then we come into it. We get a spring. You get 4 games in spring. So we end up going 2-2, 500. So I said, okay, we went 500. Let's build off it. What can we do now coming off of this season going forward? I said, hey, you guys, program-wise, there hasn't been a team here that's won 500 or above in back-to-back years. If you're counting the pandemic year, then it's just you guys will be the first time doing it. So we came in 2021, finished out 500 again, 5-5. Fortunate enough, we got selected that very last bowl selection. Then for the ECAC bowl game. Great experience for the guys. Got to go up there, played up in New Jersey. Crazy thing about New Jersey and FDU is about 15 minutes from where my brother lives. So fortunately for him, he was able to catch the game then and see us, and didn't go the route the way we wanted at the end of the day. Didn't finish out the game on that end. So guys got to experience something, got to see, hey, where we could be future-wise going forward, learning experience and growing from there. And then say, hey, let's take that in our season. Let's continue to keep pushing. Took into 2022 last year. Played a really good St. Vincent team to start the year. They've been in, I think, 8 now, maybe 9 years, I want to say now it is in a row bowl game. Yeah, 9 in a row bowl games that they've had. They were coming off 8-2 season, and a lot of places out there poll-wise were in that like top 25, 26, 27 as far as rankings coming in. So we knew a good, tough opponent right off the bat, kind of seeing where do we stand for 22. We're neck and neck the whole game. Molayo Irefin had a great return for a touchdown. We're up in the game, and then unfortunately, then they ended up taking the ball down the field, driving it, and ended up scoring late, and that ended up being the final score of the game. But it's kind of showing progress, like, hey, where you guys can be now going forward and keep building on for that. Conference play played out during the course of the year. Ended up having our best conference actually record ever, actually, since the rebirth of the program last year. It was our best conference record ever, best pack record and most wins in the pack ever as far as pack conference wins. But finished out overall record at 5-5. So we're kind of sitting around waiting, being the very first team this year to end up not being in a bowl game. So they selected 8, we ended up being a 9. Okay. How do we build it? How do we keep on growing? That's the main goal at the end of the day. We want to keep on going forward. Like our Boniface Wimmer, the founder of our school, 1846, forward, always forward, everywhere forward. So we want to make sure we continue to keep going forward. So past off season here, coming for 23, our guys have done a great job of pushing themselves in the weight room, doing a great job throughout the course of spring practice, spring semester in the classroom. All that kind of come through grade-wise, cumulative over 3.0. 61.4% of our roster at over 3.0 or above. Wow. So the guys are, let's say, hey, it's got to be on and off the field. Rising together with our program is academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, community. So we want to be well-rounded those 5 phases together as a team for not just our time here, but sharing that special bond for life as we're moving forward with those relationships. So guys, hey, now we're rolling into summer span right where we're at right now. It's July 27th. Days are ticking away. Just came back actually before this call from checking out this Pittsburgh Steelers first training camp practice, being down there today and checking them out. Get you the excitement, that energy back for this start of our season now. Like now, just like it makes
now
you
it's just chomping at it.
Why can't we have our first day now? So now it's just kind of waiting around, doing all the game planning, getting prepared as we're getting ready for that August 11th date. As far as our guys will be able to move in and get everything started on our end, and it will be here before we know it. And definitely exciting. It's an exciting time of the year as always.
Coach, put us in the room with you and a recruit, or you and a recruit's family, and explain a little bit more of those 5 core values that you touched on in that last response.
Yes. So Rise Together is our team motto. That was something as I was getting ready throughout the interview process back in 2018, that November time span. Hey, where are we at now at St. Vincent as a program? Since the time I was there, the time throughout, whenever I was left and went to Greensboro Central Catholic, what is the next thing that we got to do as a program to get ready for this upcoming 19th season, but something also as a program that we could keep growing with throughout time, and just like Boniface Wimmer, continuously going forward, always forward. So the main thing on our end was, hey, I looked at it, hey, rising together. What can we do? Rise together. Okay, let's grow. How are we going to rise together? And so what are the things that go with that? So I started looking at what are the phases of that, of rising together. You got to be a student athlete. So it's the academic side. Academically, I mean, our school right now is at 98% job placement rate. It's been either 97 or 98 very consistently throughout the time, not big fluctuations. It's been within that realm, 97 or 98. So, okay, let's continue to keep rising on that and that rise together. Student-teacher ratio is 11-1, so you're going to get that attention to detail from the professors at our school at St. Vincent. 92% of the faculty that are full-time currently are PhD certified. So they're going to get a lot of hands-on experience from people, though, in the field. They're going to help them and be prepared for a life and a career. Mm-hmm. With that next side, then, so it's academically, it's athletically, athletic standpoint, then is our guys, what they see, what they're going to do in the weight room, what they do in field work, what they do in individual drills. What do we do during the course of the season with them? Is it spring ball practices? How are they getting developed and being prepared at each position group? How are they getting prepared on offense or defense or special teams units throughout that time? That's going to get them ready from then. What do they do in individual work then on their own, individually by themselves, even during the summers to help get prepared? And then once we start here in training camp, those are the things getting them prepared as we jump into the next season. So that's the athletic standpoint. And then academically, athletically, socially, then is after that. So those guys being well-rounded in the environment. So whether it be socially, being interactive just on campus, our guys are being very supportive of the people that are around here, whether it be coming to a game that's another sport and being supportive of them. It's fall sports, winter sports, spring sports. Being supportive of, hey, doing community service events just around our area here on campus or our surrounding Westmoreland County here. With that also is socially is being very interactive with our alums. We want to make sure our alums, same thing with our current guys. We have a very open door policy in our offices. We want to always feel that they're comfortable to come in here and talk to us about anything at the end of the day, no matter what it may be. And making sure our alums are always involved in anything that's going on, or always giving that open door invitation with that. So that's the social part. And then networking. So we want to make sure networking with that in the social aspect. So they're growing good connections with alums, with surrounding St. Vincent football, not just the academic side, but then also everything. If you're going to stay around the PA area, if you're going to go somewhere outside the state, or if you're even going internationally, it's those social connections and the networking that comes with it. So academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, then, yeah, we're right here at Benedictine Catholic Institution at St. Vincent College. We actually have the largest Benedictine monastery in the world, actually, on campus, which I don't know a lot of people know that. With that being said, you're going to have the full rounded about 10% of our faculty right here on campus are, if you see the priests or monks, you'll see on campus. I tell guys, if you ever see anybody in the collar on there, then you know why. Father Max is our team chaplain of our program, and him and actually our president, Father Paul Taylor, are the two co-chaps of the team chaplains for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they're very invested in football. They're very invested on the football end, very invested in the Steelers. They're very involved in our program, whether it be coming to practice, going to games. Like, they're very rare. I mean, they're very busy. Our president's very busy. He's got a lot of things that go on every day. That's why I was so shocked to see like him stopping by practice during the course of the week. Okay, this guy, he really love football. He loves being around. He's very supportive on that. Coming to games. Okay, I understand the big games, the homecomings, the senior days, but every home game, every away game being out there. So it's very supportive on that end from an administrative standpoint, and also as the president position. And then being very interactive with our students, our student athletes, our football players, whether it be helping those guys out too. Hey, how do they develop and grow during their time here as a freshman to a senior? And then they're very interactive as far as how are they growing and developing career-wise once they leave here, and being very hands-on as far as contact even after the days they graduate. Then the last is community-wise, is the fifth. So giving back to the community, whether it be donating time or resources to places. Our guys have done a great job. I tell them, if you look at the national NCAA numbers out there, there's a little over 1 million high school football players. I think it's 1.1, 1.2. At that being said, you count the guys now that play collegiately. When we went through like NCAA data and stats, it's 6.5% of guys that play at the next level. So when you come here, you're part of the program, you're part of our team right now, currently, you're blessed to have it. God give you great opportunity to be a student athlete. Take advantage of it though, fully. Get the most out of the time in the classroom. Get the most out of your time on the field. Enjoy that experience when you have it. Those things are going to help be better prepared for the rest of your life as you move forward. And all those things to play hand in hand. Yes, we want them to be successful in life. We want them. That's how we win championships on and off the field. But we want you growing ultimately to be a better man. If you decide to get married, better husband. If you decide to have kids, better father for your future. Those should be the ultimate goals at the end of the day then, as you're leaving our football program here at St. Vincent College.
Now, Coach, this is more. It popped into my head. I think you've been asked it in different ways. I'm sure you have been, but as an alumni, as
Yes.
the guy that is arguably the best quarterback since the restart for the school with most of the records passing as a quarterback, do you put more pressure on yourself as an alumni being the head coach of your alma mater, knowing that there's a lot of those alumni that text you when things get a little dicey or they don't like what's going on, they're gonna be vocal to you. But do you have that in your head where you're a little bit harder on yourself because of what the program means to you?
Yes. Yeah. Being very honest. Yes. That's why I put a lot of time into this, because I love the program, everything about it. The connections with the alumni, the guys I play with, the alumni I've coached, the guys in between that time that I've got to build some really good relationships with. It is special being a part of that and being an alum here at St. Vincent College. It is that family atmosphere that you see. The guys, people talk about all the time, but truly seeing it and putting it through action throughout the course of the years, and then seeing it day in and day out. And that's a big thing. Like, I want to make sure at the end of the day, everything that we could do for our guys, but as an alum, it is. Yeah, I do want to make sure that we're doing everything that we possibly can on our end. It's good. It's good when guys are reaching out. I love the support that I have been given by a lot of alums out there that have been really supportive of what we've been doing here. And that's why I said, hey, keep bringing that support, keep bringing energy. It helps. It does help. It helps me day in and day out as I'm going into work, or I'm going through the course of the day when guys reach out to me. But also it helps our guys. It helps our players here. It helps our coaches. Being with that positive energy and attitude, it does release, and it helps everybody out at the end of the day. And that's the main goal. That's why it comes hand in hand with that team model rising. It's rise together, because we're all in this together at the end of the day, and we're all trying to be supportive and successful with each other, and making sure we're taking those right steps and avenues to make sure we're continuously going forward. And that's what we want to make sure we're doing here.
So, Coach, these are the last two football-related questions, and then we got 5 randoms. They come rapid fire. But the last 2 football questions it's a 2-parter. Where do you put the PAC when you're talking about the conferences in D3? I know that I know that it's like top 5 when you look at there's certain articles that put it top 5. There's a lot to put it top 10. And then the follow-up to that is, what's the significance of Division III, specifically to you as a guy that played Division I football and then also played at the Division III level? So,
yeah, our conference is really, really good overall. Honestly, yeah, not just saying because I played and I'm coaching in it. I truly believe it is. You talk about top 5. I 100% believe it is in there for our conference, no doubt about it. It's a really good ball every single year. Going in just the preseason polls, there's at least 2 or so schools that are in the top 25, and then usually there's another school or 2 just outside of the top 25. Honestly, I think that's why each year you have multiple schools that play some form of postseason play because of that. Because I think it's being seen from the national standpoint. And that's why I tell our guys week in and week out, you're going to get a good opponent. Don't look at records ever. You just never know how that game's going to go week in and week out, because there's good players on each and every team. So you just have to make sure you're putting the time and putting the work, putting the effort in. So those things at the end of the day are playing hand in hand, working with each other. That way everybody's growing together to get prepared. But that's why I said you can't take things lightly.
not in the PAC.
No, that's when things will get caught up, and then they end up catching you at the end of the day.
And then the significance of Division III, just like as you pointed out, especially with it's 1.1 million high school kids that are playing football. 6.7% of those kids would go on to play some form of college ball. I can't imagine it's 6.7 or coming straight to Division III. But you're still, that opportunity's there.
Yes. Now, that's the big thing. Like, at the end of the day, you're seeing more and more guys actually are getting opportunities and playing somewhere professionally now. Even more so these last few years that are coming up, which is great. They're seeing from the national standpoint, whether it be NFL, CFL, the arena leagues. If you're playing internationally, there's a lot of the USFL and XFL have really been kicking off and really been putting out there and done a really good job these last few years since getting that back started again. And some of those guys had the opportunity now have been brought in for training camps or playing and doing well with NFL teams.
Yeah.
So our guys, hey, you have great opportunities out there. If you do well, you will be seen. If you want to continue your playing career, you'll have different avenues that are out there, and the film doesn't lie at the end of the day.
All right, Coach. So now we go to the rapid fire. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Honestly, right where I'm at, I consider this Westmoreland County, Allegheny County. So I've lived in both areas. Currently, I'm in Westmoreland County, closer by to the school out here. Love the area, love the people. Like, it is special. I don't know. I've heard from a lot of people out there in the different states. There's a sense of love, community, and atmosphere that you're going to see. People love their sports around Pittsburgh. No matter what it is, they're very supportive of it. Obviously, being with the Steelers here, we're probably really blessed to have those guys to be on our campus here and to have training camp here every year. And that's something we don't take lightly to have that opportunity. But they're just being honest, talk with them, seeing them, hanging out with them, watching practice or going to sit on me. Like, they're just so down to earth, so welcoming, so friendly, just so helpful though too, no matter what it may be. That's what I love about them. They are that family style atmosphere, that family style organization. And I think that's why they've been so successful over the years, because of that though. And then you see it obviously with trickles down with other professional sports teams here. What we got with the Penguins and the Pirates, that you see as well throughout Pittsburgh. People want to come out, they want to support, they want to come to games. And you see it at every level of play, from seeing Pee Wee sports out there.
All the way up to Friday nights. Friday nights, you have whole towns that shut down.
High school, so some areas will completely shut down and go in. Then you go into College Avenue, throughout the college sports, and a lot of really good, no matter what level of play around here. Division I, Division II, Division III. You have good play at every conference here, just around the surrounding areas in these few, just within an hour or 2 hours, honestly. And then obviously, then already mentioned before with the professional aspect.
So the next one is, what is the most important lesson that you've learned so far throughout your career?
Throughout my coaching career, I learned. Throughout my coaching career, the most valuable lesson I learned is, hey, just when you're hiring people and you're bringing people in, if it's players or it's coaches, bring the people in though that are really going to help continue to keep pushing and growing where they're at. They're people that they're not, hey, they're satisfied where they're at. We want to make sure guys are not satisfied. Being honest, no matter what happens, we won a game, awesome, enjoy it for that time, but don't be satisfied for that moment as far as going forward. Mentioned before, we want to continuously go forward. So bringing the coaches that feel that way, they want to continue to keep pushing and going forward throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of practice, day in and day out meetings. Once you get from your game plan for that upcoming opponent, and then going from game to game throughout the course of a season. Those guys, hey, not being satisfied with where we're at right now or where we were at last year, they making sure we're always constantly growing and pushing each other as a staff. Players feeling the same way. We want those guys to make sure that they're doing the same thing on their end. When we're not around and we're not with them, hey, do they have in the back of their mind, I got to make sure I got to constantly push myself as an individual. So as a team, we'll come together and we'll keep growing that way once we come back in together. So those are the type of people that I want to be around. It's the type of people that I learned from seeing it from playing, then getting into coaching. That I want to make sure I've learned from different coaches from the high school whenever I was going and growing up, and then learning under them, and then also going from the aspect of then the college level as well.
If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't coaching, honestly, I probably would be training, like strength and conditioning training. I did some of that in between. Some of this the playing once I got out for arena. That was something I always had a love for, the aspect. I always loved the process. I was talking about, like, hey, you got to enjoy the process you're going to be in that mode more so than you're going to be actually playing games, because you might only get 10 guaranteed games. It's the process that goes into that. So that was something I spent a lot of time in the weight room during that time whenever I was playing throughout. It's something I always continue to even love, even to this day, that I always make sure staying just healthy and in good shape, making sure you're doing those things so you have a longevity of a life and a career.
Yeah. Coach,
but yeah, that'd probably be the realm I'd probably be in, honestly. I was a business major, sports management route. I did interns for this pro camps worldwide out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I did that for my sophomore, junior, senior year, each of those redshirt. So I gained a lot of great experiences there. Honestly, got to meet some of the guys around here. Got to meet Mike Tomlin. Whenever he was starting out, I was intern for pro camps worldwide, and they brought him in to actually head off and kick off one of the camps. And he was the guy that was the main face of it. And it was him. And then actually the other camp was Ben Roethlisberger. So it was great to see that. That was that would have been 2000 and 2008, 2009, 2010. 2011. Yeah, those years. Yep. So yeah, got to see some of the guys that I got to see here watch up and growing. And then seeing now where they're at with Mike Tomlin still with his career and how great of a coach he's been throughout his time, and being the work shows throughout the course of the years of what he's done. Just seeing little things what he does in meetings, seeing what he's done, just how he just communicates and interacts with people in practices. It is special to see that in person and to be around that, honestly.
Coach, what's the best compliment you've ever received?
Well, that's a tough one, honestly. I don't know. I'm being honest, I don't like talking about myself about compliments or anything like that.
I could ask the other side of that, which is what's the best insult you've ever gotten? Because that's the other part of the question.
If I'd say the other part would probably be like, what were you looking at out there? What were you calling on that play particularly? Why'd you call that pass play? Why'd you call that run play? I'd probably say from that standpoint, biggest compliment I'd say is probably any time somebody says like, "Hey, we see the effort, we see how much you care for your players at the end of the day. We see the time you're here." Those are the biggest compliments at the end of the day, because it's like, hey, those little things, like they're being seen by others at the end of the day. They know, hey, they know that I really care about them. If it's somebody individually that comes up, a player, individually a parent, or somebody that says something that's even around the campus or somewhere else you're at during the course of your time. Like, I think those are the biggest. We talked about compliments at the end of the day that I really care about the most. That's all I care about, is making sure our guys are growing and making sure they're enjoying their time. Football's fun. You got to have fun at the end of the day. But we want to make sure that they're growing to be successful young men, husbands and fathers, then, as they continue to keep growing for their future.
And then, Coach, the last question is, was there a question that you were expecting me to ask you? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Question on that. Is there a question? So I was expecting you to ask on coming back, actually, North Catholic, because you started saying back then, starting from 2006, coming from North Catholic. I thought you were going to ask a question actually after that about North Catholic. So that was the only thing that I was kind of like, okay, I'm prepared if you ask me a question about that time that I had from my juniors and seniors from playing. But
I was just saying, you were a basketball player too. You were a basketball player too at North Catholic, and I know. You see, I didn't put that all together. I didn't put the years together, but for those of you in the whip that followed the Whippeal, there was some interesting basketball games between North Catholic and Jeanette for about 3 years there, if I remember right.
Yes, so that was just after I graduated. They started going back to back. The very next year after I graduated, it was a very interesting game versus Jeanette over at Hemphill in the playoffs when they played each other. And then after that, it seemed like each year it kept growing after that, though.
So, well, Coach, I want to say best of luck to you this year, 2023. Maybe this time next year we'll have you back, and we'll get a little conversation about how the 23 season went. For those of you that are sticking around, you know what comes next. We go to overtime with Serenity Brown. This has been Coach Aaron Smetanka, the head football coach of St. Vincent College. If you're in the Latrobe area, make sure you stop Saturdays. What's the opening game this year?
Yeah, Saturdays, all our home games are 1 o'clock kickoff. Our very first is our home openers. Actually, it's September 2nd. It's a Saturday at 1 o'clock.
So September 2nd, make sure you find your way to Latrobe. And who's the opener this year?
W&J, Washington Jefferson.
That's now they get to make that drive up I-70, huh?
Yes.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll be right back, Chuckleheads.
Thanks again. Have a great night.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Overtime with Serenity Brown. That's who that is right there. She's not feeling too well, so we're going to get right to it. We just finished with Coach Smetanka from St. Vincent, and then they will be playing Waynesburg this week. They're our game of the week, so we'll be picking that. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, we really appreciate you. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm going to keep using that. I took that from Mike Bono. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and even if you didn't like it, because your friend might like it. Follow us on the social medias. That's Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. The only one that's different is the Instagram page. It's dingo_talk. I want to thank Coach Smetanka for taking the time to talk with us. I also want to thank Jimmy Montgomery, who played with Coach Smetanka back in his St. Vincent days, for his questions that he submitted during this show. Little conceited, I think, Jimbo, but he had other linemen, buddy, so it might not have just been you. No, Jimmy's a good guy. But what we're here to do, it's the picks.
Yeah. Are we going over where we're standing right now?
I was gonna give you a minute to brace yourself for, and I think that you ran into a rough patch last week. It's not as bad if Whitewater does not get upset. You're 7-3 instead of the 6-4 that you drew. That puts you at 42-18.
Yeah, and can someone tell this one to stop accidentally adding losses
To everybody.
No, because when you're reading me the numbers, I was the only one whose numbers was off. So
I don't
try to give me 2 extra losses is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we're gonna drop them on you.
Let's not.
We're gonna drop them on you during this game here. So I am sitting at 44-16, and DB continues his run. Actually, without Whitewater's loss last week, DB would have had a perfect 10-10 pick. So he's sitting at 47-13, and that leads us to this week. First game, number 23 Grove City versus Allegheny. We both have Grove City.
Grove City, yeah.
DB's taking Allegheny in the upset, and the reason being Allegheny has they don't have a bad loss. They lost a close game to to Carnegie Mellon. They lost a closer game than I think many people expected against W&J. And this is also a game that people have said they kind of got it. Grove City's kind of got to run a gauntlet here of, I think, 4 of the last 5 or 3 of the last 6 are on the road. So DB's taking Allegheny,
We'll see.
and we're taking Grove City. Number 12, Susquehanna versus Juniata. The whole board took Susquehanna. Number 3, Wartburg versus the University of Dubuque. The whole board took Wartburg. Number 11, Randolph-Macon versus Bridgewater. The whole board took
Randolph-Macon.
This is a differing game here. Case Western versus Westminster.
Me and DB took Case Western.
And I'm taking Westminster. I think Westminster is athletic. I really do. I think they got a little boost with their homecoming victory last week over the Fighting Bison. And that's what I'm going with. Next up is McMurray versus ETBU. We all took McMurray. NC Wesleyan versus Greensboro. This was a tough game for me personally to pick.
But we ended up choosing North Carolina.
We took NC Wesleyan DBs picking Greensboro. That's it's a game that I'll be keeping my eye on score wise. These are Sal's 2 picks. He threw us the 2 games. Johns Hopkins versus Franklin and Marshall. The whole board took.
Johns Hopkins.
And number 19, Alma versus Hope. The whole board took.
Whole board took Alma.
I don't know if I did say it, Johns Hopkins is the number 10 team in the country. And then our game of the week, St. Vincent versus Waynesburg. And this may be a Bethany bias from us here, but we all took St. Vincent.
Which I would just want to point out. I chose our game of the
You did. You finally picked the...
I picked with our guest.
You did. It's the first time. How's it feel?
I think it's the second time.
You feeling confident?
I'm never really confident.
Also, I want to address something. So there was a comment made from one of her picks. I believe it was it last week or the week before that I mentioned it to you on the Twitter or X. There was a comment made about one of the picks, and it was somebody really picked XYZ.
Listen, don't comment if you don't know the preface of the show and you don't know that I don't understand what's going on. 90% of the time.
We're just trying to get her into football, folks. Please don't deter her. That's all I'm asking. We're really trying to build this foundation of being able to enjoy football, and I think we're getting there. We're not getting there.
I'm just competitive, so the fact that I'm losing upsets me.
Well, if one of us has a bad week, we all
have
do.
a bad week if one of us has a bad week. Because this week we did not differ very much.
Also, I did want to point out while we're still talking about the picks, DB also wanted me to point out about Alma. He thinks they might be on upset alert as well, but he didn't want to have 2 upsets on his board. He's trying to, I think what he's doing is he's trying to look at the numbers and play it smart. And to defend you, I think you just like to pick the upset just in case. And I respect that. Doesn't work well for gambling, but I respect the hustle. And on that note, thank you again to Coach Smetanka and St. Vincent. Good luck to their football team this week against Waynesburg. And we'll see you next week, Chuckleheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.